All right, well, okay, I'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How are you? Good, thanks, I forgot.
Okay, the board wants to provide ample opportunity for public comment on matters that come before us. Your input is important. If you wish to address an item already on the agenda, we ask that you do so when that item comes up for discussion. If you have a comment on a matter not on the agenda, this is the time during our meeting for such comments. The board would like to remind everyone in attendance that to avoid violations of individual rights of privacy, a member of the public wishing to address the board during this time will not be allowed to make comments about any student, staff member, or member of the general public during this time. Does anyone wish to speak at this time? Okay. We'll start any recognition of individuals, delegations, or correspondence other than.
I don't have any at this time.
I'm going to plug Mr. Schendel in front of our school construction guys if you've got something you want to discuss.
Yes.
And I picked you because I figured you were shorter than them, so if you're going to go longer than that.
Okay, so my name's Ed Schendel. I'm with just Broadwater Rural Fire District, or Townsend City Fire also. On the new building construction, we found out we needed to come up with a new address for the grade school. So I went around and figured out how to do that. I did get one. The address would be 210 North Pine. And I'm thinking this is probably where I need to bring this up too. When this door for the grade school disappears from the playground, there will be no more 201 North Spruce. So high school may have to come up with a new one too.
Oh dear.
And yours will be on 2nd Street, so it should be about 211, 209 or 211. I haven't confirmed that yet, but just a little food for thought. That's what I have on that.
Any bus stuff? I know you talked about a bus that you sent in.
Yes, I called them today to find out how the work is coming. They said they got some parts today. They're gonna try to get the transmission out to get it working either later this week or first part of next. So,
Remind me, that was bus number 1.
bus number 1.
So,
Blue, yellow, white,
Peely.
peely, whatever you want to call it.
Is that, that's not the bamboo, is it?
No, it's the old one.
No, the other buses have been running fine, so we're good to go on that.
thank you, sir. Okay.
Good evening. I'll start off with the building progress is going very well. Got the envelopes on, the roof's on. We're actually starting to sheetrock inside, and we're actually mudding and taping the kitchens. Stainless steel's going in. Pretty exciting stuff. We still have waiting on our windows. Glass, I'm sure you guys have, you've seen the frames going in. The glass is still out. Our doors are still out, but they're actually starting to fill in. You'll see the visible starting to go up the vinyl wrap and the windows because we've got heat. Obviously, we don't tape money and taping in that kitchen area and the admin area, so we have to have heat for that. Our schedule, I'm very happy to see our progress. We've actually made up the time that we had lost that we for excavating the old school. So we're back to the original schedule. I'm feeling pretty comfortable where we're at. I know DAC's happy as well. Obviously with the winter coming, it's going to slow things down, but they're in a pretty good spot. So I'm actually very encouraged with that. Press box, they do have the siding here now. They're trying to figure out when they can break guys free to get over and actually finish the siding as well as put the roll-up doors in for you guys. They did talk about actually helping some kids from the district maybe do some of the interior framing. And obviously, Sue would work that out, but DAC did offer their services to help from that perspective. But they would probably give you guys a hand and teach the kids how to do that. FF&E, the furniture, fixture, and equipment, that's been designed. We're taking it out for bid mid-November. Obviously, once that gets flushed out, the bids come in and the counts come in, that'll come back to you guys for approval on those bids. One, that gloomy side of everything that's going on with our roofing bid. Our roofing bid came in at 1.9 million, over 1.9 million.
Is that on the hail damage?
Yes. And on top of that, we only got one bid. So we are looking at trying to figure out a different way to go about this, because we are not going to get more than one bid, no matter if we take this back out. We've talked to the roofing, all the different roofers. All of them said that they don't have enough crews to manage this size of a project in the time frame that we need it. So I think we're probably going to be looking at breaking the project up into multiple parts. We did talk about maybe leaving it, just putting it back out and doing it over 2 summers. I don't know that that's the best option for us either. It probably will take us 2 summers. They don't have the manpower to do it, is pretty much what we heard back. The other thing is they really hated was dealing with the solar array. None of them everybody said we don't want to touch that. So I know that we got a huge number because of that. Pulling it off, putting it back on, everybody's afraid of touching it and then being responsible for it. So I think we're gonna have to have a different point of attack. Not that you guys should have to worry about too much. It is insurance, but obviously we still have to do it above board, and we can't just force that type of a bid down their throat, especially only one bid. There is no comp there. So we're trying to plan that out. Once I have a pretty good plan that we think we can get multiple bids on, we'll bring it back and tell you guys this is kind of how we want to bid it out. I think we do this in smaller sections, we probably can get multiple bids, and hopefully be able to work our way through it. So it's just kind of the market that we're dealing with right now, which is too bad. This is like 1,000 squares on this, and most of these guys, you know, the project limits right now they're saying is about 300 to 400 square. That's what they have the crews for. So, and I'll turn over to Rich. I have Rich handling the mechanical on the Esther in the middle school, so we can talk about that.
Yeah, so the update on our mechanical projects is we've got proposals from the design team for both the middle school bond premium project, and we want to, and the high school, but we would really like to get that middle school done in on schedule with the middle school project. So we're going to prioritize that one and open bids in January and plan to bring it in front of you on your February 8th board meeting. And then the high school will follow right behind that, where we'll get that bid open in February, and we'll bring those bids to you for approval on the March 8th meeting. And that'll still give us time to get submittals approved, get equipment ordered, and accomplish some work this summer. And those bids, as we talked about last month, we'll have a base bid for the high priority work, and then some alternates so we can manage budget and priorities so you guys will have some decisions to make.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, we're bidding some stuff too right now, and we have to put in allowances for equipment because they can't order it. They can't price it until they order it.
Right.
And so they can't bid it. They
We're
don't know what the
seeing
price is
that.
gonna be.
Yeah.
So we're putting allowances in on the bigger pieces of equipment so that they're just bidding labor and installation, and whatever the price is the day they order it.
We've been seeing that, which on the roofing, we actually had a manufacturer, I think it was GAF. They sent out, we're not gonna have any communications with any of our suppliers or vendors until November 17th. You can't order insulation or membrane. They just flat out said they're not even gonna answer the phone so they can get caught back up. That's currently the market we're dealing with. So yeah, we're seeing that same thing, that trying to put a bid out, especially with mechanical equipment.
Yeah.
From their manufacturers, they can't even get pricing until they order it the day they order. So we're seeing that too. Which obviously is going to make it very stressful putting the project together correctly with that equipment.
We're also gonna have a lead time problem. Would we be further ahead to just buy the equipment ahead of the project and have it on hand and then let the contractor just bid the installation?
The thing we did do with the middle school is Rich actually called the manufacturers and we can get the unit ventilators, right?
Yeah, the middle school project, in those classrooms, we're looking at doing unit ventilators, and they are available, and they haven't been impacted like some of the other,
Okay.
it's a special order air handlers. And as we work through the design, our intent is to utilize air handlers that'll fit in those existing spaces, like over the music room and for the multi-purpose room that are, it's a standard manufacturing air handling units you can still get. It's if you have to customize it. And we're not that far through the design process yet, but from what we've been able to determine, even on the air handlers, we'll get a reasonable lead time.
You'll be able to get like an off-the-shelf.
That's
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, we haven't seen any red flags, but as we work through that process, we're going to continue to bounce it off that because that is a concern. And in the high school, there's 6 classrooms that are currently on that air handler that doesn't meet life safety code, so we'll have to replace those with unit ventilators, but there again, they're available. And I think the small rooftop unit that'll go over that home ec area, that'll be available. Some of the bigger air handlers in those other spaces, we'll work through that process as well. It's a dynamic landscape for sure.
Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, I would just add, walking through the school every week and, seeing now that they're putting the sheetrock on and the tape and texture, you can really visualize the rooms now, and it's amazing how much that changed the way it looked in the last 2 weeks. And it's starting to look like school and what we envisioned from the beginning. So yeah, they've done a great job, and plumb tickled with how far they've come in the last couple of months. They've done really well. So.
And allowing us to turn everything loose early has made all the difference in the world on this project. And we have our equipment, we have, our steel is here, our march, which it was absolutely made a world of difference that we can actually stay on.
We have some neighboring districts that are very jealous of where we're at in our project.
And they're mine too. We just didn't get as good of a start. So,
Very pleasant to see it coming along. So, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, FFA National Convention report.
So, Colton Noyes, senior, and I'm the chapter president. We'd just like to start off by thanking you for allowing us to go to National FFA. That was October 27th through the 30th. While we were there was over 50,000 members and guests present, which is something that is really special to see. FFA is spread out through all 50 states and 3 territories, being the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and Guam. Not all the territories were there, but I think just about every state was there. And that's something really special for us all to see. While we were there, we went to multiple workshops and sessions and got to learn new things about FFA and how to be better leaders and stuff to bring back to our chapter that we can hopefully incorporate. We watched Harley Pro, which is a competition our chapter participates in. 4 of our team members are here tonight, and we are headed to John Deere 8 Days this week to participate in that. And it was really good for us to see how they compete at the national level. And we just like to, again, thank you for letting us go.
Yeah, so I'm Bailey Taylor. I'm a senior and I'm the vice president of the chapter. And I have to say my favorite part was definitely seeing all the other chapters from the other states there. It's really awesome just to get such a blue ocean, I guess, with all our jackets being there. It's really awesome to see how big of a part that we have in something.
I'm Brooke Edgerton. I'm a senior and I am the secretary. My favorite part was going to watch the parley, and then we went back to our hotel and got to ask questions about things that we saw, and then we were able to practice ourselves for our competition.
Chief Assistant, I'm a treasurer and I'm a sophomore. My favorite part was the workshops and learning about stuff that we don't see here all the time.
Overall, just thank you.
Do you have any questions for them about their experience at Nationals this time around?
Thank you.
And then Susie, is this the time you want me to put a plug in there?
Yeah, 1 second. I just want to say thank you guys for representing Montana and our school district so well. And I'm glad that you had an awesome trip. So thank you for your participation. So, thanks.
Thank you for taking the time to come tonight. That means a lot.
Mhm.
Ms.
Yep.
Locker.
Okay, my plug is just for a vehicle, right? We've been talking about 15 passenger van versus a school bus or another school vehicle, just because of the number of kids that you can carry. I know in my 6 years here, I think I've had one trip where I've taken 15 students. Otherwise, I'm below that. But if you're over that 8 limit for the Suburban, so like 10 is a really common number that I travel with. It's really inconvenient to try to schedule a bus driver to go do things like John Deere egg days. We're really thankful that Ed is taking us on Thursday morning. But so
You're probably riding with the volleyball team.
right, so John Deere egg days, we'll leave at 5:45 on the bus. And then the bus will come back and forth with volleyball, which means that I will have 11 students, a student teacher and myself in Bozeman with the Suburban. So we'll have to shuttle everywhere that we go. Where if we had that 15 passenger van, that wouldn't have to be an issue. I wouldn't have to leave my responsible seniors in a place by themselves while I transfer the younger students to places that they need to be. So that's kind of my plug for why I think a 15 passenger van would be a reasonable thing. The other thing is that you don't need a special driver's license to drive one. So any one of the teachers that have a smaller group to go somewhere, they wouldn't have to have their CDL to be able to drive that 15 passenger van.
Mm-hmm.
I have a similar situation today with FCCLA in Belgrade, and Mr. Odell had, because same thing, not too many to fit in the Suburban, but not near enough to obviously justify a bus. So he took his truck and we took the Suburban and shuttled him down, and he had to go back and pick him up back and forth today. So lots of similar, and I could think of numerous ones over the years. So I know we talked about it, a meeting or two ago, and definitely worth visiting in the current situation we're in with.
And now that we're down to that one
Yeah.
vehicle that we can use for trips, that really hinders that too.
Yeah.
Like when we went to Nationals, we graciously borrowed a vehicle to park at the airport. We appreciate that very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think that is definitely something that is worth exploring. I think it would be cost effective and efficient for the district, and a good way to use our transportation funds. Legislation changed to allow them to count and for us to use our transportation funds to purchase the passenger vans. And that's something we did at the district I was at last year. And it was nice for myself or a teacher to be able to jump in with a group of students and go where you needed to go. And so I think it's definitely something worth looking into, and I'd like to look for some quotes and bring you guys some options.
Let's hoping Ed to just take a bus and see if he could bring back 2 vans for a bus or something.
I could try.
Get Keely running. Get Keely running.
Thank you.
Have a good night, you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, moving on, the grant award from council.
So I just wanted to say thanks to Bill McGladdery and Town Pump for awarding us the $5,000 grant for our food pack program. And I should have said that well. Colton was still in here, and thank you, board, for reminding me about that was something that you guys had done in the past. So I filled out that grant, and we have Colton Noyes and a few other seniors that do an awesome job of getting those food packs ready for our kids in need. It used to just be for the elementary school, but this year we've seen even more families across K-12 in need. And been able to make sure that they have food for the weekends. And there's just a lot of need this year, and so I think that that's a really important thing that we're providing. And I've had parents come in, in tears and just be very thankful that they were able to get through the weekend. And so it's really important to some people. So I'm glad and thankful for Town Pump for awarding us that. And it was really, pretty simple and straightforward application. So I appreciate that too, because I'm sure some of you have filled out grants that it just feels like you're jumping through unnecessary hoops. So it was nice that it wasn't super time consuming for me. It was really straightforward, and we received the award right away. So thankful for that.
Thank you. Mental health collaboration.
So we also have students that we've seen a need for mental health services. I think from my experience, in our field, more so than in the past, I don't know if you would agree, Ms. Heverin, but coming back from COVID, I think it's been hard for some students to make the adjustment from being remote to coming back to school, and just some of the different things that families have gone through have increased that. But also throughout the process of the school closing and COVID occurring, we lost our mental health contract and connection with Broadwater Health, and their practitioner that was supporting us went out on her own. So we have reached out to Larissa, and she is interested in contracting with us. And the other option that we would have is to contract with Yellowstone Boys and Girls Ranch, YBGR, which a lot of schools have a contract with. And that's more of kind of like a set model that they have throughout the state. However, they would have to list all of the positions and try to find a therapist. I know that Broadwater Health is currently doing teletherapy with a therapist that I worked with last year that's out of Livingston. So I think it would be very challenging for us to hire a therapist if we were to go that route. So I would like to, and I started that conversation with Larissa, and I'd like to work on some kind of contract so that we had her half a day or 1 day a week, and then prioritize our students in need of her services. We find that it's a barrier for a lot of families to get them to appointments and things like that, especially our kids that rely on the bus and have parents at work or those kinds of things. And those kids really need that support. So if we can get them those services while they're at school once a week or every other week, that'd be a great benefit to many of our students and families. So I just want to let you know, as we're looking into those options, and we'd like to get something put in place so we can make sure those needs are getting met. And that's all falls under ESSER and all of that as well. So.
Minutes and warrants. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes and warrants as presented.
Yes. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes and warrants as presented. Any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Action items, approve additional section of Stoke.
So we were really excited. As you guys know, at our last couple of meetings, we talked about collaborating with Stoke, and since really this summer and fall. And so we started the Snapology STEAM program skills through that program. And they host it at the lodge and have a snack for the students, and they have 20 per session, and we had almost 60 students sign up, and we had only set 2 slots from the get-go, so we only had room for 40. So we would like to open a 3rd section, and we're just really excited that that many kids were interested and parents were willing to, facilitate transportation and all that so that they could have that extracurricular and enrichment. And that's part of that COVID learning loss, additional learning opportunity.
I move to approve the additional section for through the 5th grade students to attend symbology through our partnership with Stoke.
Seconded. It's been moved and seconded to approve the additional section for 3rd through 5th grade students to attend the Snapology through our partnership with Stoke. Any discussion?
One comment I'll have for discussion on that. You'll see down below that Kayla Haxton had applied for the after-school program with us, but she is now, it's crossed out because she's now helping at the lodge with the Stoke and Snapology kids that are there after school, because we're now have 20 kids over there 3 days a week. So she's helping with that instead of helping here with the after school kids. So that's why that was switched.
Any more discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Approve revised calendar.
Okay, so when our administrative team started working on our toes and teams report for the state terms of employment and all of our reporting that we have to put in, we have to submit our instructional hours by the minute. We have to account for passing time, so any time in the hallway. In between classes, we have to account for lunch and recess. And we have to provide copies of our calendars and our bell schedules and all of that. And the state has to approve that in order for us to get accredited or maintain accreditation or not get a deficiency on our accreditation. And then our auditors also look at that, because if we are short our required hours, then we will have to pay the money back per Montana code. And so we want to make sure we hit our required hours. And it's also always a challenge. A little bit I learned was that in Townsend, we've always tried to keep the district calendar the same, K-12, because K-3, there is less required hours. So especially kindergarten, but K-3 has a different threshold than the 4th through 12th grade. But just to kind of keep everything fair for all the staff and all of that, it's always been that we keep the calendar same. I have worked in different districts that did things like home visits with the younger kids, or had kindergartners start a week late, or things like that, and then had those teachers doing some different kinds of duties during that time. So wanting to keep the calendar the same, K-12, but meet those hours, we started brainstorming options. And it came to about 2.5 instructional hours that we needed to add. So when looking at the calendar, I guess the one that jumped out to me was adding the hour. So what I understand, I think what happened is last year there was some people that weren't happy about having to stay later on that day before Christmas vacation. So it got shortened to noon release, and that time didn't get put back anywhere else. That's one of the things that I can see maybe happened. And then we have another noon release on the last day of school. So my thought was if we changed those and added the time, it wouldn't be a drastic change like adding another day to our school year or anything like that. However, I did send it out to staff and ask if anybody else had any different ideas or thoughts. It definitely, was something that staff weren't super excited about, that we would have to change the calendar. And we did get one other idea that I think will work. So the idea was to add minutes to our day. So our bell would ring at 2:32 instead, and no one would really feel or notice the 2-minute difference, but it would add up over the school year. So that is another option. I just want to make sure that we have it right, or everyone understands the consequences of not having it correct. And we have to have that submitted. I'm hoping to push submit tomorrow, so it's kind of something we need to take action on.
Was that just 2:30 on, when you say 2:30, then just on Fridays, Susie?
I mean,
It would
3:32,
take
3:32.
Every single
Every
day,
day.
2 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay,
and on
that's
Fridays, it's
clarifying.
1 minute. It would be 2:30 or 1:31 or 2:31.
2:31.
Yes, thank you.
So 3:32 and 2:31.
Yes, and then something to think about for next year. I will tell you, I did have a parent that say that it is confusing that we have 2 early release days at noon and 2 early release days at 1:30. He said he usually ends up with all the kids at the bus stop in his Suburban going home with him because the parents lose track of, it's kind of confusing with the 4 days with different time to release. So maybe next year we just make sure it's across the board and we make our minutes. So those
So
are a
is
couple of the
this-
different ideas. And then one other one that one of the teachers mentioned to me was that we have, they're pretty worried about the fact that we are hosting Class B duels for wrestling this year. So we'll have a lot of people in our building and all of that going on. And that is a school day. So they were wondering if we could switch one of our days from the vacation day we have in March to January. But I know that one of the things the teachers really wanted was a vacation day each month. So,
And, I mean, the other thing to think about, and obviously that would be a high school issue, but parking will be unreal. I mean, when we start talking about hosting those great big athletic events, because the Class B duels will be huge. There'll be a lot of people there. And I have no idea where we're going to put them during a school day. So that's something to consider too, so, yeah.
What day is that? Do you remember?
I'll have to look at
it's written down in here,
January
the 21st, January 21st, yeah.
21st of January.
So would that solve the issue though? Of
No,
being-
that's just a
That's a separate
separate,
issue.
when I put out,
Like, how does that work?
the calendar, that was something that somebody else caught
Okay.
that they were worried about on our calendar,
A whole
so,
separate issue.
yeah.
Would it work to add additional minutes and then not have school on or during Class B duels?
I don't know that the staff would,
I don't know where we
Because you're
are.
now looking at 5 minutes extra, probably, per day. Because you're right, it'd be a mess during the tournament, yeah.
yeah, I guess I'd have to did you already do the math?
No,
Dr.
no.
Scott? So how many minutes? Yeah, I guess we could look at that. I could draft that up for our next meeting.
Yeah, and then just a thought, because that is minimal impact when you add minutes. So it is minimal impact, but I'm not sure there's,
We have
How
bus
many minutes?
schedules, and, I mean, there's a lot of schedules that
Well, but-
roll off the bell schedule too, we have to, but if it's only, I don't know.
but if you're gonna change it to 2 minutes anyway,
Yeah. What's
You know,
three?
what's 3 or 4 more?
Something to think about. Yeah, or we can get more input from staff on that switch. I don't know if people already have vacations planned or anything, and then we could talk about it next meeting.
So I know Friday lunch is let out at 12:05, where Monday through Thursday lunch is 12:04. And it's just a minute, but it is a minute, and it is the longest minute on the planet. Because kids are like, normally we're out at 12:04, why are we still in class? Well, because the bell doesn't ring until 12:05, right? So from my perspective of in the classroom with, especially kids that read the clock and like wait for lunch, I can't imagine trying to add 5 minutes at the end of the day. But that's my perspective of that.
Do you
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
those days?
Well, and I grant that the other option would be having to not take a vacation day during March,
Switch
Right.
it.
right? And so you wouldn't have one. That's the alternative, right?
I think there's two things here. The wrestling duels is just switching 2 days, right? We're just swapping.
Well, it could be, yeah.
I kind of favor the idea of extending instruction on the 23rd and the 27th. And absorbing it that way instead of parceling it out, I guess. Seems
There is on the calendar.
easier to me. It seems like it's
Yeah,
more
one shot,
straightforward.
couple of days. There's, on the calendar, Susie, on the December there was a little bit of confusion. So we're out on the 22nd, that Wednesday. Is that the day we're talking about? Because it says early out at 1:30 on the 22nd proposal, but then it says 24th through the 2nd for Christmas vacation. Should that be the 23rd? We're missing the 23rd in the calculation there.
Did she get the updated packet?
Are you looking at this updated one?
Are you looking at?
No.
Oh, that's the
It's
old
the one
one?
that
Here.
Oh, because it's all screwed up on too. Okay.
So the 23rd is the early out day, I believe.
No,
Is that correct? Oop.
that's what I'm, it's the only one in our packet.
The new one
She's got
that
it.
we got
I
tonight.
didn't get that. Okay, well then the old one was messed up, so.
As I switched it.
Oh, you got it, okay.
23rd.
So this was the old calendar was messed up then.
Yeah.
Okay, got it, thank you. I hadn't seen this one. Okay. You're welcome.
If we make some heavy-duty changes like this, do we have to go back to the calendar committee to figure this out? Because when we start making huge changes within the calendar, you should have your board member, your classified staff and certified staff member just to kind of get it all out in the open, see what each person wants. I know our union members, they put poor Susie through the ringer the other day with emails and stuff. So we're trying to come up with that possibility too. And I know if we take this back to those guys tomorrow and say that we're not getting out till 1:30 on day before Christmas or on the 23rd. I know this is only 2.5 hours, but you gotta see what we're dealing with here. They're gonna have a pretty tough time. So I'm just wondering if maybe we shouldn't really think about these minutes at the end of the day because they're a little bit harder to recognize than, or, go and tell. And then even on the last day of school, I know it says in print that it's 4:30, but you can't go past 4:30 according to contract. So,
4 o'clock or 4:30?
I mean, 4 o'clock. So that's the part that we're the teachers are picking this stuff out easier than anything. So that stuff comes back to us and on the president and vice president. So we just want to make sure that we're clear when we take this stuff back to them. And then I don't know what a good solution is.
I guess they understand there's an error and the error has to be
You
fixed.
got it.
So, yeah,
Absolutely.
not fixing it is not an awful error.
No, and I totally agree with that. And I'm pretty sure most of the teachers do, but we still have those few that don't understand why they're hitting them all at the end, like the Christmas and the end of school. So it's just that kind of stuff.
What kind of instruction is being done at 1 o'clock or 1:30 on the 23rd? I mean, I would like to think that, students are being engaged the entire time they're in the seat, but the reality of it is, the last week of school does count towards instruction time, but it usually seems to be field trips or off-campus activities or a lot of the bulk of the learning plan seems to have already been achieved or scuttled or whatever, depending on.
And I'm
how our
totally in
calendar
agreement
goes.
with you. I'm just the one that's getting.
I understand.
Backlash.
Yeah,
And
that's
see-
where I see if that
And
ends
see,
up.
here's what some of them brought up, and this is just a few of the teachers, but so they have flights or something like that they need to take at 2 o'clock, so they have to be there by 1 or whatever it is for getting on them. So if we go till 1:30, that's extending their day. So now they already have schedules and I don't know how, I haven't even looked at the teachers there or asked the teachers which ones are having the problems or the issues. But, from what I understand, at least 3 or 4 of them are having issues with that. So me, I don't really care, but according to, you know, and we do have to do what we can for our teachers as well, but I just don't understand, I mean, I just don't know how we can best do this so that I'm not getting the shaft here and you guys aren't getting a bunch of stuff and.
Well, I know,
I think we have to recognize we're not gonna make everybody happy.
exactly.
You know,
That's very true.
Most people happy.
4 out of 15.
Yes, and
Well,
maybe we can cover, you know, classes or whatever, if they gotta go early, if they've already booked a flight, and I don't know what the logistics of that are, covering the class.
Well, what about spring break here? Instead of that Friday, could we just do an early release on April 15th? And do just a half a day?
That's going into Easter.
Yeah.
I would think that would cause more chaos than the other route that.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I mean, of course, those are days that people want to be out early, but I know people don't want to come back, you know, June 1st or or whatever either. So, or May
Well, and I would
30th.
advocate for the
31st.
You know, the one year that we did, we've regularly gotten out at noon before Christmas. That's been a pretty common practice. And the one year we did the same, had to go to the 1:30 or did the 1:30, and I don't even remember why. And it was a nightmare in the high school bringing those kids back after lunch. Just saying, it was really awful. But that being said, we got to fix it. You know, the principal's advisory board, I already talked to them about, said we may be going longer that day. They have some ideas of what we can do. So it can be worked with, but I understand, you know, that's tough to bring people back after.
And, you know, in my mind, those have been essentially published out days.
Mhm. And
For a long
then
time,
some
it's-
people,
it's-
some
yeah.
people wait for that and plan their year around breaks.
And, you know, if kids are gone, they're gone. It's an excused absence. As long as we're holding school, we're holding school. So that's the other side of that. I mean, you know, they still need to do their family stuff, to do their family stuff.
So I would be happy if, I was just gonna mention, I'd be happy if the committee got together and reevaluated.
Well, I think the question is how soon does, you know,
It has to happen.
right, we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the state already called and asked why they didn't have the report. And I said we were meeting tonight, but that doesn't mean, you know, we don't need to do things the right way. So, and that's the way I have to report it is the pupil instruction days. I have to report every day that we have an early release and the minutes. So it was kind of annoying also doing that report with having to calculate 4 different types of days we have, but that's a whole nother thing. We can add if we change the minutes, like adding the 2 minutes in the mornings and on regular mornings and the one on Fridays or at the end of the day, then we have to change the bell schedules and update the handbooks, right? Which have the minutes in them.
We'd have to republish everything.
Release and
What if we
start
started
time.
3 minutes early every day?
And the
No
whole
one
high
mentioned
the whole high school will be tardy.
And I do think what the 23rd and the 27th wouldn't be that big of a deal, but we have to really, those teachers that are having an issue with it, we have to make sure we let them know that they're gonna get covered and they're not gonna have to cancel their flight plans and that kind of stuff. If we can do that, they should hopefully understand, but it hasn't been like that for a couple of months now. So, I mean, there's always something going on and always somebody complaining about the schedules and everything. So I would, in an ideal situation, this would be perfect, but this isn't totally ideal with 6 or 7 of them that are doing the most complaining. I would be happy to go back to them and say, yeah, we're gonna go until 1:30 on the 23rd. And we're gonna have to instruct until 2:30 on the 27th. And then, because just like we discussed earlier, and we've done this in the past where the principals have let us go after we get done with all of our stuff. I mean, we're gonna get out early anyway on the 27th. It's not that big a deal, but these guys just don't understand that sometimes. But as long as you guys are on board and we can reassure those teachers that, yeah, we got your back and won't be a problem if you have to leave that day, and we'll try to cover it. And
The only problem I see with that is that's a pretty open-ended statement to say we're gonna cover that, and pretty soon we got 50 teachers.
Yeah, if you 6 or 7 people were able to say, hey, look, this is my flight reservation, I'm going to Disneyland on 27th. We can certainly see that.
It becomes problematic.
yes, it definitely is.
I guess if you want my opinion.
Yeah, and I wouldn't,
I think changing the 2 days is the least disruptive to the most amount of people, but not everybody probably agrees with me on that.
And it wouldn't, everything wouldn't have to be reprinted if we did that.
I don't think we would reprint everything anyways. We'd just change it on the website and.
Kind of update on all of our.
And if you only added the minutes on at the end of the day, not the start of the day, that's only 1 point.
Another thing to look at if we're talking about the wrestling thing too, is that would be 2 days that week that we're out of school for parents. Because we're out the 17th already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for MLK Day.
So.
Yeah, and that's not the switchable day.
No.
I'm not saying, it's
Yeah.
far enough away. Everybody could make plans. It's not like it's a week away, but I don't know.
I think, I guess to me, we need to address the two things separate. We need to fix the calendar first.
Yep.
And then we need to go back and look.
Next meeting, we can talk about that one or start
Well,
planning for
even
duels.
today, I
but-
just think
Yeah.
we need separated.
The minutes.
I guess those two options, I guess, we just need.
So, in my mind, just adding a few minutes is the most.
Do you think that's less?
I think, yeah, I do. Because of the point around people making plans, those are pre-published days. But
And
I'm
it's not
being
just
either way.
teachers who have done that. A lot
Yeah.
of families have
Yeah.
made their plans already too.
And I'm fine either way. I am.
To me, that seems like it'd be
It's
just
like
a
a death by
constant.
1,000 paper cuts.
That's every day, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A paper cut. That's a good way to.
It's like,
Death by 1,000 paper cuts.
that's what I think. That's what I think.
I guess we.
I will
That's
tell you,
working, just the
it
teaching and
seemed to
schedules
me
myself, I think that's-
like the feedback I got, as you heard, I got quite a bit of feedback. And I had told staff since day one, I welcome creative solutions. So I was welcoming people that had constructive ideas, right? But like you said, the bottom line is I wasn't happy about it either. Nobody is, but we have to do what's right, make it right? So I thought the 2-minute idea was interesting and worth bringing to you guys. Like I said, it wasn't the first thing that jumped out at me. Was those 2 days. The middle school and high school seemed fine with it, but like Sherry said, it can be hard to get the kids back after lunch. We might not have them back. We don't know, but the teachers seemed fine with it. The elementary teachers seemed to like the 2-minute idea. And I mentioned that to the high school and the middle school, and they didn't seem to think either was going to be a big deal. But I do know what Alan's talking about with the contract. So I moved that PIR, those 2 hours on the 27th to 2:30 to 4:30, which he's saying that our contract says we can't go past 4.
Oh, I see.
And so the
On what
challenge,
day- on what day?
the 27th.
May 27th.
The challenge I have with that is that you cannot have PIR for less than 2 hours or more than 6. So I can't move that unless I moved that to add on to the February and March parent-teacher conferences. I already moved 2 hours for record keeping, so I'd have to move another 2 hours. So they'd have to do some professional development and record keeping in February and March additionally in the evenings rather than during the school day if I had to take that off on the 27th. If we can't go to 4:30. So, and all those hours have to be accounted for in certain very specific ways as well. So there's record keeping hours and there's PD hours and there's orientation hours and there has to be certain amount in each category. And like I said, they can't be held in blocks less than 2 hours or greater than 6.
So, okay,
So
so the last day of May doesn't work.
well, unless I move those 2 PIR hours to a different spot. And then the teachers would just check out when they go through checkout when the students leave and be able to leave. We could still have school till 2:30, but then they'd have to do checkout and head out. We could move that PIR. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we didn't realize this issue until we had this report to fulfill, and it was due last week to the state.
So is it miscalculated on this calendar? It says 180.5
days.
hours. Oh, days.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
and they're
minutes
going by hours.
last year. The minutes and hours never got calculated,
Oh, okay.
or it was calculated wrong. I don't know which.
And there's actually 182 days for, I think it's instruction. Because everything added up to 182 instead of the 180.
As is the calendar is now?
Yeah, because they have it broke down into quarters. So if you go through the quarters and you can even, the quarters, 45 days in the first quarter. And in the second quarter, you have 47, that's 92. And then you go from third quarter, 42, the last quarter, 48, that's 90. So now we have 182 days. So there was a miscount there too, because at the very end, they said it's only 180.5 or 185 or 186. Holy cow, I'm gonna have to do something with these glasses.
But is that with instruction minutes added to like so many hours and time frame?
I don't know how it was calculated before, where these numbers came from.
But those were days. Those were days that you're counting.
Days,
So that's
yeah.
not the minutes during the day.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't add up by days. I just have been working in the state spreadsheet that Sherry got to see. Yeah, and Brad,
Fixed on my end.
and I saw that, thank you. And Brad and Christina and Sherry and I tried calculating it each 10 different ways, 10 different times, and we were short. So that's what it came down to.
So they switched to calculating by minutes?
It always
last year?
has. The state
it
always has been.
Oh.
And most schools do.
On their calendar that way, yeah.
Oh.
Just a couple of years ago, we changed the policy that went to hours and minutes instead of days. I don't think it's always been like that, has it?
For the state accreditation, as far as I know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's 1,080 hours.
I think the old way to do it was by day.
And-
Everybody switched to minutes and hours because that's what we're being.
Yeah, the state arm is 1,080 hours. And then the K through third, it's 700 and something.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember seeing that somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. 42 PIR hours. 18 of them have to be
So say if
PD.
we take those 2 hours off of the 27th, then we would be pulling a 6-hour parent-teacher conference. Is that what you're saying? Like a 6-hour block for parent-teacher conference plus 2 more hours?
Plus, I'd have to find somewhere else to put another 2 hours.
So like it could be 4 to 10 o'clock or something? Is that what you mean by that? I'm just clarifying.
Well, it would be, I put it as record keeping, so it could be done outside of that time frame, like, so it could be in preparation for the conferences.
Okay. Okay, I got you.
So the teachers would be expected to stay late,
Can it
like
be
that
ad
week.
hoc? Can you just, you have to, before the conferences on the 22nd, that 2 hours needs to be recorded?
Yeah,
So not necessarily added to that parent-teacher conference where it's gonna be like
no.
4 to 10 or something.
And I actually thought,
It was a half an hour.
I thought it was kind of a nice gesture for the
Yeah.
teachers. It was
Yeah.
giving them another 2 hours to their conferences to get ready for their conferences and taking it off of that last day of school.
Got it.
So teachers were supposed to be there till 4 anyways on the 27th.
No, so that would give them a 2-hour. I see, I got it.
Yeah. I don't know, Alan, does it say what time we can start in the contract? And we're not supposed to start before 8 or?
Yeah, it's 8, well, it's 8 to 4.
Yeah.
And then, and like you were talking, and she like that, I think you said the 40 week, but then we'd have to renegotiate those hours when you'd have to start at a certain time and go past.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have days where we have our staff meetings and they're before 8 o'clock, but then
Yeah.
they leave early that
Right.
day, so.
Gotcha.
So if we go quarter to 8, then we get
It's a
out
cut
at
schedule, that's exactly.
quarter to 4. So
Mm-hmm.
we get those hours back.
Right.
Can we get those back?
Uh-huh.
I would just say, as a teacher, I wouldn't even miss the minutes. I would, yeah, they just go. As a classroom teacher.
I just need a motion.
It's whatever
So
you get.
we're actually talking about extending the bell time 2 minutes Monday through Thursday, 1 minute on Friday.
Oh, okay, so we can discuss it, but I'll go ahead and make that motion that I move that we extend the bell time on Monday through Thursday by 2 minutes and on Friday, 1 minute.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded to extend the minutes per day, 2 minutes, Monday through Thursday, and 1 minute on Friday, effective immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Well, the discussion I would have.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, the discussion I would have around it would be, is that given the situation on May 27th, I think, where it's scheduled to be 2:30 to 4:30, is there any additional time that needs to be made up there? Because I can't go past 4.
No, because this was my new calendar I was proposing. I should have put the current calendar also, sorry. So
Okay.
currently we
okay.
get out at noon and the
Separately, huh?
teachers stay till 4.
Right, okay, gotcha.
And now we're gonna be doing some really great PD right until 4 that day, so I'm just joking.
You know, at the end of the day though, it's not gonna have to, you're not gonna have to do any extra, like, it's just gonna be the bell schedule, right? You're not gonna have to do like bus and all this other
That's
stuff.
what I'm worried.
because
Is that gonna
this
screw up the bus?
I don't think the
routes or-
2 minutes
It's
is
only
gonna
2 minutes.
impact bus routes.
That's the one.
We might have to hustle a few of them, but that's
I
it.
think that's really optimistic. I mean, I'm not in school, but I think it changes everything. It would have to.
Well, I don't know, because
There's 10 minutes between bell and when the buses leave,
Mhm.
correct? So then that would be 8.
They're gonna have to hustle,
well,
yeah.
I've been out there doing recess duty at the end of the day, and most of those little kids are already out there, you know, before, they still have, I think they're at the bus almost 5 minutes before. And because they can't go line up for the bus until all 5 or 6 buses are there. And by that time, everybody's out anyway, so.
You can lose 2 minutes in traffic. I mean, they're milling the road and doing things like that. I mean, there's a lot of lost time that's there. Especially, it doesn't get felt as much at the end of the day as it would in the beginning of the day. So,
Those kids, you can't get rolling as is.
Please don't.
but, Mr. Chairman, I guess so as part of the discussion and to address the motion that's on the table, do we need to actually, as a part of the motion, address movement of the PIR to March?
Nope, the PIR will just be 1 to 4 like it was.
That's just your.
It will just stay like it was,
Okay. Just your regular schedule. Thank you.
or noon to 4, whatever it was on the previous one.
Any further discussion? Discussion?
I think, we'll make it work, whatever we have to do this year, but next year, I think we just need to make sure we calculate the minutes, and I think we need to have those early out days be consistent across the board
I
for
wanna
parents.
Thank Susie for helping out on this, because when we talked and everything, that really helped. Understood a little bit better, so we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Approved teacher pay for CPI training hours.
Okay, so CPI is crisis prevention intervention training, and it's very important for working with our students that sometimes struggle and may have outbursts or that kind of thing. We have certain students that we need staff that work with to be trained in CPI. It is definitely important for the legal perspective of our school district. It has been very important in my career. So if you are CPI trained and you end up in a situation with a student, you are certified to handle it in certain ways. If you did not have that certification, we could be in hot water. So we asked the teachers that have those students and the paras that work with those students to be trained and certified. It is about a 6-hour program. So I would like to compensate them for their time, because this isn't something that is expected as part of your salary or as part of your duties, like attending family engagement nights and those kinds of things that we ask everyone to do as part of their job. But it is something that specific people were asked to do for the safety of themselves, their students, and I think it's our legal protection as well. So we asked these folks to do it, and they got it done, and it's a great training. MANT is one of the older versions of it you might have heard of, and the district has used before. So we conferred. Christy and I did some research on how it was done in the past and handled in the past in the district, and we talked to MTSBA about the best way to handle it, like a stipend for getting the certification, or do an hourly rate or what. And our legal counsel recommended that we do whatever had been done in the past, not start a new practice or procedure, obviously, unless we were going to start a policy. And so we did find out that in the past, teachers have filled out the claim forms, and there is an hourly rate calculation for each of our teachers that is in the system that Christy has access to, and that is what has been used in the past. So they would each fill out a claim form and be paid their hourly rate for those 6 hours. And anytime we are going to pay people above and beyond, we would like your approval.
I will move to approve that teacher paid by completing the blue claim forms at their hourly rate, and the clerk calculates for the hours that they were in CPI training.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the teachers are paid by completing the blue claim forms, and at their hourly rate, the clerk calculates for the hours that they were in CPI training. Any further discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Personnel resignation.
So Polly Robertson has been with us in the elementary office for quite some while. From what I understand, I've only gotten to work with her recently, obviously, but she is retiring, so we're sad to see her go, but happy for her and thankful for her service.
I move to approve the resignation of Polly Robertson.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resignation of Polly Robertson. Any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes.
There's probably another gold watch there somewhere.
Yeah. It's been a long time, a lot of years. I'm not sure how
Yeah.
many, but it's been a
Over
lot.
20.
Over 20? Thanks, Polly.
Yes, so that is currently open and we have one internal candidate so far. All right, so, yep. Okay, so for substitutes, we have Andrea Toulos, and she is sister to one of our current substitutes, and we interviewed her, and she's full of energy and excited to be here and has lots of teaching experience and is a certified teacher, so we're excited to have a good candidate substitute and potential for long-term if needed and those kinds of things. So glad to have her joining the team. Joel Brown has already started with us and is a new sub that we're excited to have. And Tyler Patrick, Ms. Heverin can.
Student teaching with Lizzie
Like
Golden
11
Hour.
years old. isn't he?
No, he's not anymore. No, he's student teaching currently. He is doing an outstanding job. We are very happy to have him on board, and obviously he would be welcome to work in any capacity he would like to when he finishes his student teaching. So
He's doing great.
He's awesome. Yeah, he's very good.
It's exciting to see the student teachers that are really relating to the students and able to manage a classroom and that sort of thing. So yeah,
The kids really like him too. I've heard a ton of compliments, and a lot of times you don't hear a ton from the students on the student teacher, some, but I've heard a lot of students that they actually want to nominate him for teacher of the quarter. So that's how well he's doing as a student teacher.
That's neat.
Mr. Chairman, then I move we approve the hire of Andrea Toulos, Tyler Patrick, and Joel Brown for substitute teacher positions pending background checks.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hire of Andrea Toulos, Tyler Patrick, and Joel Brown for substitute positions pending successful background checks. Any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. After school is no more, junior high basketball, girls basketball, excuse me.
Yes. So for 7th grade, we have Chase Reagan, and for 8th grade, Courtney Johnson have applied, and they recently interviewed with the head coach and the rest of the interview committee and have been selected.
Okay, I move to approve the hire of Chase Reagan and Courtney Johnson for middle school basketball.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hire of Chase Reagan and Courtney Johnson for middle school girls basketball. Any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. C Squad boys basketball.
David Lawson has put in for this position, and we all know him as one of our teachers and look forward to having him on board.
I'll move to approve the hire of David Lawson for C Squad School Boys Basketball.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hire of David Lawson for C Squad boys basketball. Any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Paraprofessional.
All right, so Richard Neighbor has applied to be a new para with us, and we are excited to have him here tonight. So Richard, thanks for joining us and taking interest in coming tonight. We are excited to have him, and he'll be a great member to our team, and it's nice to have someone to work in the high school with some of our young men, and he is a veteran, so thank you for your service as well, sir. Marine veteran of many years, and brings a lot to the table and taught in different kinds of ways through his military career. So we're excited to have him here to work with the students and help us out. And he's was cooking this weekend at the concessions, and so he's already volunteered all over the place. And we're just really excited to have you on board, and thank you for joining us.
Well, I move to approve the hire of Richard Neighbor for paraprofessional pending a background check.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hire of Richard Neighbor for paraprofessional pending a successful background check. Any discussion?
Did you want to introduce yourself or say anything, Richard?
My name's Rick Neighbor. I guess basically I did 22 years and changed in the Marine Corps, and then I worked for Woodburn School District in Oregon for 10 or 11 years. I did grounds and maintenance, a little bit of everything. I was in charge of 3 different schools, and then after that I opened my own business, groundskeeping, maintenance, and yard and property cleanup and all that stuff. So.
FFA also.
Oh,
right?
I was in the FFA in high school, and in Oregon. I was there in alumni for 10 years, 10, 11 years, and then I joked during the interview, I missed one meeting and I became the president. And then I also worked with the FFA chapter there and the kids at state and national net. And then also for the last 10 or another 10 or 11 years, I guess, I was involved in the high school that I graduated with in the FFA quite a bit. So
I told them our alumni might be recruiting him as well.
What brought you to Townsend?
my oldest daughter lives here in town. They've lived here for 2 years, I think, but they've lived in Montana for everything's 10 or 11 years, I guess. I'm not really sure, but they've lived here for quite a while, so. We just, want to be a part of the school, and everything in the town, and just help out wherever I can.
You bet. Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
One of his other family members is also one of our newer paras, and she's doing an incredible job. So we're just recruiting the whole family. So.
Any further discussion? Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Yes, thank you, sir, for all your aspects of service, and welcome aboard.
What I guess I could say, I have a little bit of experience around kids also, because I have 8 kids, 5 grandkids, and 2 great-grandkids. So
Yes.
a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank
for being
you.
here tonight. Health coordinator.
So Catherine Humphrey, you guys may know as a physical therapist in the community, is interested in our health coordinator position. And the hours are pretty interesting with that position because it's early in the morning, doing the testing for teachers if they want to test to make sure that they aren't positive. And so they can teach for the day. And then we also get our first faxes with our positive cases from the health department around 9 o'clock. And then it's very busy for the next 2 hours, which can cause me a lot of scheduling issues if we have very many faxes on a particular day, because we have admin meetings at 9:15, those kinds of things. So this person, Catherine, is willing to be flexible and cover those critical times, as well as come back, then take kind of a long break in the middle of the day and come back for the health department's second wave of identification of when they find out about cases. It's later in the afternoon, and then we have to get all those notices out in the evening to families. And then on Sundays is another hot day for making sure we find out about any cases that happen over the weekend and can alert families before school starts on Monday. And sometimes teachers want to be tested on Sunday if they've had any symptoms or exposures over the weekend. And that's my only day off right now. So that is, I will be excited to hand that off. And Catherine Humphrey is interested and willing. Obviously, she's familiar with the medical field and feels comfortable, and she's willing to work that schedule. and coordinate with the health department and take that role on. And we received that grant. That grant covers her salary, her laptop, because she'll obviously be doing some of this work from home. Some of it's in the evenings. And Christina and Miranda Howell have been doing a ton of that work with me lately in the evenings and weekends. And so she'll be taking that over for us. And so the grant covers her salary, benefits, laptop, and all the supplies we need to order. Her and I both participated in the first training that came out on the ELC grant last Friday. I asked her if she wouldn't mind pre-hire, just listening in on that with me for an hour, and she did. So that those trainings are starting and that grant's rolling. So I'd like to get that position filled.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the hire of Catherine Humphrey for the health coordinator pending a successful background check.
I will second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hire of Kate Humphrey for health coordinator pending a successful background check. Any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Yeah, that was encouraging that we even got an applicant. I was a little worried that once we had that money that nobody would come forward, but that's very good.
Yeah, it's exciting. And, our cases have been, our numbers are down. So that's been great. But it's still something that's a constant. And in the elementary, we still have pockets here and there. So.
Curriculum director and learning loss interventionist.
So Massis Goggin applied for this position, which is another one I wasn't sure if we would get an applicant for because it's very interesting position the way that I wrote it, but we seem to have found an incredible applicant that fits the diversity of it. So the way Christy and I were talking about it FTE wise, because of the way we have to report it to the state, is it is 0.4 intervention, so learning loss. So she'll work with students during the school day, 0.4 FTE. And then 0.3 is curriculum director and 0.3 is Indian Ed for all. So, which are positions that we need to complete in those state reports also. So it helps us meet those needs. So she is very passionate about working with students and has been a private tutor, especially in literacy, but also in math for many years. She's actually published her own programs because the ones that you buy off the shelf, a school may be able to afford, but for one person to purchase the materials wouldn't work. So she created her own and actually got her own programs published. So she's very passionate about it. And in the interview, the terminology and vocabulary was just going back and forth, and I had to cut them off finally because I had another meeting coming. So it was a really great interview. So she's really got all the lingo and excited to work with the students, but then also will help step up and get the curriculum materials ordered that we're in the process of for the elementary right now. And I let her know that one of the priorities is to take inventory of all the curriculums and programs in the district and figure out, our copyright years on those and that kind of thing. And then so we can prioritize them and get us on a calendar for curriculum adoption, for regular curriculum adoption. Our new music teacher brought to our attention that our current music program's like 23 years old or something. So she's a bit worried about using that for her instruction, for example. So we got to figure out where we're at with our different programs and where our needs are and prioritize those. So she will do that during her curriculum position. And then the Indian Ed is just making sure that any curriculum we adopt meets our state constitutional standard of incorporating Indian education, and that our teachers receive the required training in that according to the state. So she'll help coordinate and set up professional development and those things with our curriculums that we do adopt. And the curriculum that the elementary is currently looking at, the one that seems to be the most popular is the CKLA Amplify. and the teachers in Absorki are using that program, and they have been videotaping themselves and then sending their videotapes over. And then we're using these blocks back here. The students get to have kind of a special recess and utilize these blocks that the mansion has let us borrow. Well, the teachers watch those videos together and kind of get to see how that program looks with real students. And then we're rolling on that and hoping to get some training on that professional development day in January on the 17th. We're hoping to have some trainers come in to work with the staff on that program so we can get rolling on that curriculum adoption. So we'll be bringing information to you guys once they are sure that that's the one they wanted to select. They wanted to see these videos of the instruction in action first. So that's where we are with that. So it's a lot of coordinating though. And even, I was working with Daniel from CKLA, and then they moved him to a different region, and all of a sudden there's a new gal that I'm trying to find out about and get on track. So it's a lot of phone calls and emails, and it'll be nice to have someone, taking care of that and being able to check in on that daily and keep the ball rolling. So.
I'll move to approve the hire of Mrs. Goggin pending a background check.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hire of Mrs. Goggin as curriculum director and learning loss interventionist pending a successful background check. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Activity bus driver.
So we got a activity bus driver application. So we're excited for that. And Donald Crossler is new to the area. Is getting his CDL transferred over from Idaho. And Ed helped me interview him to make sure that we didn't miss any questions on what was important for the responsibilities and expectations of a bus driver. And Ed will help usher him in and do a little orientation with him. He's smiling at me. I volunteered him for that today. Donald has a lot of experience driving bus and was first of all requested to be the wrestling bus driver for any wrestling events. So of course our athletic director was excited about that. And we're excited. He has a lot of experience driving bus and semi-truck and all different kinds of situations. So anything to add?
Yeah, I told him about cleaning the buses and fogging and everything, and he was very good with that. He says, yeah, that's the way it should be, is when we're done with the bus, it should be ready to go. And the one question I asked him, I says, do you participate with the kids when you take them to whatever? He looked at me and says, yeah. Yes. So, yeah, I think he'll be very good. He does have a lot of experience doing buses and other things. So.
He seems very friendly, very enthusiastic, very easy to talk to. Yeah, I feel like I see the kids interacting well with him, so.
Thanks, Ed, for being a part of that.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciated his help because I didn't feel qualified to complete that interview on my own. Yes.
Which bus is he driving on Thursday?
You can't drive Thursday.
Oh.
That's his CDL day.
So gross.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the hire of Donald Crossler for activity bus driver pending a background check.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hire of Donald Crossler for activity bus driver pending a successful background check. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Very good. Policy review, policy 3124R, military compact waiver.
I just wanted to bring this to your attention and make sure we updated it, and because it was one that we haven't looked at as far as I could tell in quite a while. And it looks quite a bit different than the MTSBA model policy, but that doesn't mean that we need to change it. I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledged it. And as you know, we agreed to become a Purple Star school at our last board meeting and we did get a military family liaison. So I just wanted to make sure that we recognized this policy and that Mrs. Biley agreed to be our military family liaison and see if you guys noticed anything that needed to be updated.
I actually like the newer version. Some of the older model policies were kind of inconsistent, or they were worded kind of clunky. The new policy is a little, dare I say, dynamic, but it.
Which one's the newer, the MTSBA, or this one's the newer?
3130 is they've changed the number.
The newer version, yeah.
So it doesn't go as much into all of this backlog. I mean, it's the kind of the purpose of the policy is a little bit shorter, and it also defers some information more about trustees admission, which would be kind of almost like when we admit an out-of-district student. It seems to work that a little bit, and then also the newer policy incorporates newer legal reference. So their House Bill 68 has worked some of those admission standards a little bit differently, and so yeah, I mean, I probably the only one that put them side by side and read through them. And I actually just I do think that the same policy ostensibly, but numbers 3130 is a little bit more clear and like I say, it's got some updated authorities. So I don't know if there's any other discussion there. I mean, I think the existing policy, if the board were to choose to just keep with the old, will serve our needs. But again, the legal authority and just the new policy is a little bit more readable. I don't know if there's any discussion or not, Mr. Chairman. If barring that, I guess I would move that we approve the MTSBA model policy 3130 for first reading.
I'll second.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve policy 31, MTSBA model policy 3130 for first reading as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes.
I will just have to double check our numbers to make sure we don't have a different policy. That's 3130, because our numbers don't align with the MTSBA numbers. So before final reading, I'll make sure we have an appropriate number.
Thank you. Policy, I guess the 1900s. Do you have any change? We just have the 1900s listed in there. We're not.
Right,
no
just
changes.
they've been in the last few packets. No, I don't think we need to make any changes. I think that what we're doing right now seems to be working really well, and families are cooperating and seem to be happy with having the choice on masking.
Yep, and I had happened to be caught at dinner from a handful of parents. We were all having dinner in the same place, and they actually were all very appreciative of our work, and a lot of folks were recognized and acknowledged the long meeting that we had and the work that had been put in, and that there is no right answer for anything, but since we have moved on from that and meeting, was just somewhat decisive after that, and that was all very good. So, that's been, now that it's been kind of in play for a little while, that was, that was very nice feedback to hear, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had several families mention to me that they thought it was a fair compromise as well, so.
Students have been very cooperative, and I just think they like having a choice. And we've had in high school, and we've been, like Susie said, we're declining, so that's good, you know, but the ones that want to be back in school, they put their mask on and come back to school. And the ones that are saying, I'm not doing it, I'll stay remote and do my homework remote, or staying remote and doing their homework. So it seems like it's going well.
Very good.
I do have a question about, you mentioned that the incidence of positive tests are going down. How much have they, I noticed the attendance has gone up, but the absences have gone way down.
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah, so the high school, we were
That's
lucky.
probably
We
a
didn't get
combination
as
of
high.
contact tracing and positive tests.
And you know what we're seeing a lot of, because there are the rapid tests now, and people can buy them at the, you know, drugstores. We're seeing a lot of, and parents are taking responsibility, and their kids are sick, they're keeping them home, and then they're rapid testing them on their own and saying they have a negative test. And so I don't know, you know, everybody seems to be taking responsibility and doing, you know, not everybody, but I mean, the majority seem to be taking responsibility and doing what they want. But yeah, you know, as far as the absences, it seems to be a lot better.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that reflected in the earlier months where, because we were still doing, you know, if it hit a classroom or it hit a team or it hit everybody was going. And now we're able to mitigate that a little bit. And that's actually been real effective.
Yeah, we don't seem to be having, you know, even when we do have a positive in a classroom, we don't seem to be seeing a lot of spread. And I get one fax now every couple days or every other day rather than every hour. And so
You get one what?
I was getting like multiple positives a day, and now I'm getting one like every other day. It's definitely declined, which I was a little bit surprised to hear that the county was still somewhat up or still having peaks, but we haven't been seeing those at the school. I do think that the staff testing has helped. I have, you know, tested staff and had them be positive and been able to send them home before they were exposed to students or other staff. So I do think that testing the staff and them, you know, coming forward and saying, you know, I'm not sure, might need a test, and that I do think that that's helped us in a few areas. So yeah, combination of things seem to be working.
Very good. Policy 2710, high school graduation.
So this policy was you guys adopted, from what I understand, last spring. With, well, it was, okay, so the handbook, or summer?
June.
Okay,
That's when we did a handbook.
so the handbooks were done and the credits were increased on the high school graduation. However, the policy was not updated. And so we always have to make sure that our handbooks and our policies align. If not, handbooks trump policy. But it kind of leaves an open end for families to choose which one to follow. We had the old requirements on the website and then the new requirements in the handbook this year. So some families were confused and those kinds of things. So we agreed that that wasn't fair. So those students will be grandfathered in under whichever the family chose to follow. And then we'll move forward with this now, having this updated version in next freshman class. We'll go with this now that we'll have it updated in our policy.
And honestly, we appreciate, you know, parents coming forward and saying, you know, there's some conflict here between the two, so definitely.
Yeah, and some of the concern was that, you know, and something that Sherry and I talked quite a bit on, and, you know, we'll work on with families moving forward, is the increased math credits, is making sure that those 8th graders understand when they sign up for their high school courses, kind of the different math tracks for that and what that 3 years of math looks like, so they don't put themselves on a path that isn't right for them. And then also we talked about some possibilities of some different kinds of math courses, maybe trying to include another section of math, of different alternative type math or something. as well. So we'll do a little more discussion with parents on that this spring.
Mr. Chairman, I guess since I'm the policy geek, I'll move the approval of our policy 2710 for instruction first reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve policy 2710 for first reading. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Principal's report. You look like you're the
It's
one
just
and
me.
only.
I'm in.
Are you giving all three?
Oh, man, I probably could. Would you like me to?
No.
I probably have enough info to do that, but, yeah, I just want to start with, where we definitely are in the throes of the postseason, and just some nice kudos and congratulations to a lot of our extracurricular athletic activities. State cross country was very successful. The girls placed second as a team, which was great. They've been riding quite the high for the last several years. And then she's been chasing it for the past 4 years, but our senior Emma Stolte actually finally won the state cross country championship for Class B. So we're really excited for Emma and extend those congratulations. That was a big goal she had, and she got her done this year as a senior. So that was great. Volleyball is headed to state. We're so excited about that. Mr. Odell and I spent 3 days crisscrossing back and forth from Billings last weekend. He spent a couple days down there, or a day and a half, and I spent a day and a half down there. And the girls did really, really well. They showed up to tournament to play and fought two just incredibly hard-fought matches on Friday to earn their berth to the state. So they just flat gutted it out. Two matches to 5, and they won by like 2. I mean, it was just back and forth. So they worked really hard. It was a huge accomplishment. And so congrats to the players and the coaches. And obviously we're getting ready to roll the state here on Thursday. It's at MSU Bozeman. So that will be fun. Sounds like we're gonna have quite a few students getting ready to go down and cheer on the girls at that all-class state volleyball mecca in the field house. That's pretty amazing if you've never seen that before. It's quite a spectacle. So yeah, we're excited for the girls. Hopefully they'll do well at the state level. And then we just want to send out awesome congratulations to our football team. They lost kind of a heartbreaker on Saturday. That was a really tough loss. I just want to commend the players, the coaches. This is an outstanding group of young men and their coaches. Class act all the way, win, lose, or draw. And it was just not just fun, it was a joy to watch them play and love the game like they do this year. So we're really proud of them for all of their accomplishments as well and how well they did. So Youth Council puts on Red Ribbon Week, and I know I saw that was in Brad's report too. We kind of do it as a district, but we do different things in the different buildings. They just did a great kind of in that era. So they had several dress-up days and lots of competitions and trivia. They had a triathlon in the gym one lunch hour. That was quite entertaining with some obstacle courses and the goggles that distort your vision, things like that. So that was kind of fun, and costume contests, and they did a really nice job on Red Ribbon Week and putting that out there. Jill and Callie do a great job organizing Youth Council to get that done, and the kids. Unbelievably, all at the same time, end of quarter one. Definitely a pretty good quarter. Obviously, we've talked about how crazy it is and busy and the ups and downs of things that we were going through that first quarter. But at the end of the day, high school ended on a pretty positive note for the end of the quarter. Kids are doing quite well in their classes. We've talked before, we always struggle with some of the kids not passing those first quarters, but freshmen struggle sometimes. And I and Mr. Odell have spent time visiting with them about, just let's get together and get that semester passed so that we can get your credits. And the numbers were actually lower for kids that had failing grades at the end of the quarter. So I was happy to see that. staff's working really hard to stay in touch with families. And there's always that challenge when we have kids quarantined and remoting and some incompletes. And there's been a lot of that, just disconnectedness with some of those things. But I think everybody's doing a good job trying to keep everybody caught up and ahead of the game as much as we can. FCCLA, they're coordinating a student-led project that they do day before Thanksgiving with our juniors and seniors. So this is the FCCLA. Some of the girls are doing this. They have to do a project every year that they present for their project for their group, their organization. And they want to do an adulting day for the juniors and seniors. So it's a work in progress, lots of good ideas, basically just kind of small like stations and breakout groups that address different things, banking, taxes, cooking, all kinds of ideas were coming out of that. Some of the staff is excited to kind of help teach some of those lessons and instruct some of those small group sectionals, and they'll just rotate through different stations and I'll have more on that later, but that's in the planning process. So a pretty cool student-led project that's coming soon. And then we're wrapping up. Like I said, a lot of activities. We have a busy weekend with state volleyball and John Deere Egg Days, as you guys heard. The winter sports parents meeting is Monday, and then we're rolling into basketball and wrestling starting next Thursday. So here we go on to the new season. I can't believe we're already in winter. Fall play is coming up. We're back to being able to host our fall and spring play, so we're excited about that. We have November 22nd, 23rd. It's Monday, Tuesday at 7 o'clock. They're going to do 2 performances of the play. We're out early for Thanksgiving, and then we have a couple of days off, and I think everybody will be glad to get a little bit of a break and a breather to regroup as we roll into December. So we are also looking at bringing back the winter concerts. We haven't done those in a while, so we're excited about that. That'll be the week of December 13th through the 16th. So we'll update those as we get closer. But busy in the high school as always.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Heverin. And yeah, we've been running around all day. I don't think this is like our chance to catch our breath finally. And just thank you for always jumping in. I have an awesome team to work with. We're trying to get these state reports done, like I said, and I sent out a text like, can everyone just come down in 5 minutes and so we can sort through these things, and we just work together and get things done. So it's awesome. So part of that is I wanted to talk about the new ARP funding that has come forward. So there's some homeless funds available. We were eligible for $2,074. However, if it's less than $5,000, we have to co-op with another school. So I was just interested if you guys thought that was something we should look into. And then also I went ahead and reached out to Dan Rispens in East Helena and Steve Morgan in White Sulphur to see if they would be interested in doing a co-op. So we were all going to take a look at it and see how much paperwork and hoops we'll have to jump through for that $2,000 to see if it'll make sense. I do think it's a need. We have many families in crisis, like I said, and we've had to help families with some coats and clothing and some different crisis situations. So that would help us with those funds that we've had to utilize for those things, personal hygiene products and different things. We have some families in tough situations this year, and I just worry more and more as it gets colder. So we currently have 11 homeless students identified in the district, and we haven't identified students before. So that we designated Miranda Howell as our homeless liaison, and I'm the foster care liaison under ESSA. You're supposed to make sure those are 2 separate people. So we took care of that. Now we have Miss Bliley as our military family. Sherry's our Title IX coordinator, in case anyone didn't know that. Miss East obviously will be our Indian Ed coordinator. And these are all things that we had to put in this latest state report. So it was good that we had already designated those things. We do also have another kind of group of foster care students that we've recently received. So we're working with them. And then any students that we have that go into a foster care placement, we're responsible as a district for making sure that they have transportation to their school of origin. So this is their school of origin. If they got placed in Helena, we have to help the families get them here. So we do have a few students in that current situation right now that I'm trying to work out transportation for. And one of the things we do is either reimburse the foster care parents for driving them here or figure out a way to get our buses close to them or something like that. So those are some things we're working through. And we also did the home language survey, and we have 14 students that have a language of impact in the home. So their family speaking a different language in the home. So then we see a lot of English challenges with their verbs and different things like that. So we're trying to make sure we identify those kids and get them any of the supports they need and take away those barriers. So the ARP after school grant is another one that we are working on, and that's another one where if you're not eligible for a certain amount, you have to co-op. So that's something I was working with the state today to see if we had to participate in a co-op with that, or if we're large enough to. I don't know. I don't think we'll have to co-op for that one. So those are just a few things I wanted to update you on from the state level, those reports and things we've been working on. One thing I need some help with, as our chair knows, is we need some help to talk about some loose ends that we need to figure out for that playground grant that you guys had previously had in play. So I don't know which committee that is or who.
Facilities committee, where we should start anyway. So
Okay.
that would be Todd and I.
You and Todd? Okay. So if we can set up a meeting, I could use some help on figuring out some loose ends on that we have from that playground grant that was in place. And then the policy work, we can continue talking about that. One thing I just wanted to mention is, so I can show you what we got put together, and I don't know if we want to have a committee meeting about this maybe also. So do we have a policy committee that?
No, we do not.
Okay.
We should, probably arguably should, but we don't. So most
Okay.
of that falls typically under, curriculum. Yeah, actually, it's, most of that student services.
Okay.
Where it really kind of depended on the subject matter of the policy.
Okay. Well, I'd hate to take too long at a board meeting to hash it all out, but I could show you what we figured out, what Melinda spent a lot of time working on to figure out what policies we're missing or what we have and what we don't have. But one of the things I was thinking about is, like Elizabeth Kalava said, we could send off our policies and our handbooks, and for around $1,000 we could find out what's wrong, or we can go with MTSBA for the $4,000 and get the numbers all corrected and get all the policies that we're missing in their model policy form then for us to alter, and then they make the changes, and then they would put it all into the web version. So just not sure if we want to spend the $1,000 and then end up
Isn't there
possibly
more like-
spending the
I thought it was like
4,000.
5,500 for.
I thought it was 4,000. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. We had the quote in that one board packet. I could bring that back.
But it was, I mean, there was a pretty substantial difference, but.
Yeah, and I recall 5,000 from one, 555 from the other. MTSBA versus Cullivan.
That's on their full policy.
That's a full policy stuff. Yeah, it is. That's right. That is.
What she's talking about now isn't quite that extensive.
It's sort of modified.
Right.
Okay.
It's just
This is
kind of an
deferred
initial-
maintenance.
Right.
Mhm.
This is highlighting where we're really off currently and what we need to fix currently.
I'm just, getting a little bit frustrated with like what happened with the graduation policy and that kind of thing. Like nobody knows where it is. When did it get adopted? And then I have to try to find a paper version of it because we can't find a version of it on the computer.
The same thing happened with the discipline policies.
Yeah.
That didn't get updated.
I think we have quite a few
Yeah.
that are just needing to be
So I'm just trying to figure out, do we want to spend the $1,000 to know that we have an issue when we already know that we have an issue? Or do we want to move towards a corrective plan and kind of like a ongoing?
You could probably have Bea and her crew give you a little bit more than just here's what's wrong. I mean,
Yeah, it would come with some direction.
Right.
The thing is, she offers, some assistance and like, here's some policies to take a look at and that kind of thing. But a district of this size, I think MTSBA kind of has I think they have the model for the policies. She does some policy work, but is mainly focused on, defending. And she's definitely the one I reach out to with legal questions or technical questions. But I think that, they specialize in policy where she specializes in defense. So there's kind of a difference there.
So they're more, MTSBA is more comprehensive.
And their online system's very well kept. And so, and they both use different numbering systems, and we have a completely different numbering system. So it's a little interesting right now. So yeah, like I said, I think we could have quite a bit of discussion about this and sit down and look into the nitty gritty, and we might want to do that in a committee meeting or something.
Good idea to start with the committee, and then the committee can bring a proposal to them.
Yeah. Or, at chairman's discretion, I mean, you could also basically form a select committee that is specific to just this issue, since, like I say again, a lot of the crafting of policies is historically, or at least, the last 3 years or so that I've been on the board, has been more subject matter driven. So if it's a facilities policy, or if it's a student services committee policy because it's a discipline issue, those kinds of things. So yeah, I mean, we could certainly do that kind of thing, and I would be happy to help where I can between now and the end of the year with work demands. It's gonna be a little difficult. So insofar as like this particular facilities policy, anytime this next week would be best for me. Drop that seed now, since I guess I'm talking, but
Yeah, we'll get that ironed out.
Yeah, so that's something we can work on between now and the next board meeting. And yeah, there's a lot of details that I could share. I just don't know. I don't want to spend another hour tonight on policy unless you guys do. The next thing I just want to mention is I'm excited to head to volleyball on Thursday. I'm going to catch the noon game that the girls are playing at MSU. And then I will be at Bea's school law conference that starts that evening at 6:00. And then is also going on Friday. So I will be going to the first volleyball game and then the law conference, and then see where the girls are if I get to go to another game. Hopefully, I wish them the best. And then one thing, I got a phone call today from Tim Pool, 2 actually, and he's with the first responders. Yeah, and they are graciously offering us first responder kits that they wanted to work with the hospital on donating to the school. So they're going to be like a backpack that is first aid in case of an emergency, like an earthquake or an active shooter situation or something, where we would have just some heavy duty medical supplies that we could grab. So we could have one of these bags at each office or whatever location we thought was important. And so they asked if we would be willing to participate in that. And they're going to donate them throughout the county, from what I understand.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Scott?
Yeah, I was just gonna, a couple things, just some information. First, chapter 57, we're meeting again next week to shore up some stuff. So there was some, and that's the educator licensure task force for the state. So I think the task force is going to recommend a nice tiered structure, but there's a couple of different issues amongst that should have been cleared up, but something happened between the intent and the writing. So that'll hopefully be cleared up next week. The other thing I just wanted to mention is the NSBA. Everyone knows the NSBA. Everyone knows about the letter from the NSBA to the DOJ. And so here last Monday, MTSBA directors, the leadership, MTSBA leadership got together, and Lance put together like a 250-page analysis of an NSBA, National School Board Association, and kind of an analysis over the last dozen years of what the self-reporting and other reporting, some of the issues around NSBA. I think, and I've got a lot of different notes here, so if I miss something, make sure you ask, okay? But, basically, the Montana School Board Association has paid dues, and the dues we are members until June 30th. Based upon our meeting, and I reviewed the 250 pages worth of stuff, the information, and then we had about 2.5 hour meeting around this very topic, and that same day. And so collectively, unanimously, and MTSBA has decided not to renew our membership with the National School Board Association. So, so that's in short the deal. Now, in addition to that, there's about 5 or 6 states that have already disassociated with NSBA already to this point. There's about another 20 that will probably do so in the near future. So NSBA's membership is probably going to be cut in half, which means the services that they provide will probably dwindle as well. A couple of points around this. There was only a couple of members, if I remember, the CEO and the NSBA president, who actually sent this letter. As far as I understand, nobody else knew about it, which is problematic in and of itself. So that's an issue as well. Let me give you a little bit more background on NSBA. This last year, when MTSBA renewed their membership dues with NSBA, at that point in time, they were concerned about NSBA and really a lot of issues that they were having, and suggested they correct those issues, or else we wouldn't be renewing again in the following year. Okay, so that letter had already been written as of June 30th, 2021. So part of the intent of a letter to go with this year's dues is to say, get your stuff straight, do better, or we will disassociate. Some of the issues with NSBA, they had issues in 2005, they had issues in 2008, they had a strategic plan developed in 2012 that they are not following. Between 2017 and 2020, they had a 60% turnover in people working within NSBA. They also had a decrease of about 20% in people who were working for them as a whole as well. So this is not a new issue. It's not a new issue. And with MTSBA's decision, of which it was a unanimous decision that I was a part of, the letter that was written was really just sort of the last straw, because there have been issues for years associated with that. Now, with all that said, already as of, it was about, must have been October 29th, 28th or 29th, a number of states got together in Chicago to start to consider an NSBA alternative already. So Lance and Deborah, they weren't part of that discussion yet, but I suspect that they will be. And we have about 6 months or till June 30th to probably revitalize a new organization or redevelop a new organization, I suspect. And I suspect Lance and Deborah might be major players within that redevelopment. So that's kind of, I think the main thing I want to point out is MTSBA was really, and the leadership within MTSBA is really supportive of parents. It is really supportive of local control, and of local school boards. And the actions of NSBA really led you to believe that there might be some issue other than that, outside of that. So I really commend MTSBA for going out and saying, we don't agree with this, and to do something about it. So any questions? I think that kind of summarizes a gazillion hours worth of arguing and work and review and all of those other kinds of things.
I'm glad you narrowed it down a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
When Lance gets passionate about something, he is very detailed, so.
Yeah, gee, my gosh. There was, open up the electronic pack of information. And I don't think anybody else really reviewed it. It took a little while to run through 250 pages worth of stuff. But the stats, the statistics, and that was on page like 138. The stats around, and this is really troubling. This is a red flag for an organization. So they dropped from like what was it, 65 or 70 employees down to 55. Okay, so there's obviously an issue with that. And during the same time period, they had a 60% turnover. That's a red flag as well. Do we want to be a part of an association that seems to be well on its way down? And then if you have half the members cut and run, what does that leave you? Not a lot. So I think that, again, I would commend that leadership from MTSBA and say I think it was the right decision around that. I think so.
Can you tell us what the issues were? Why did people leave originally? You said 60% turnover.
I don't know.
Why did other states leave?
Oh, well, the 60% of the people within the organization itself, within NSBA, turned over.
I get that.
So
why did that happen, and why did the other states leave?
I don't know why I don't know why the turnover was. The report didn't identify the reasons why people left. It only identified that people had left and there was turnover within the organization. Why states are leaving is because of the letter that was written to the DOJ.
It was repugnant.
Yeah.
It was a totally repugnant letter.
Yeah.
And
And
they should have been taken to task.
oh yeah, and they're losing half their members. So or if they haven't already, they probably will. Pennsylvania, I think Missouri, Alabama, was it? I mean, there were 3 or 4 states that really took the lead in just saying, we don't want our dues back, we just want out, because this letter calling parents domestic terrorists and stuff, and that's on page 3 of the letter that's provided at the bottom on the right-hand side. Those kinds of things, just not right. So 5 states to this point, 3 states initially left right away because of that. Their actions were quick. We took a little more time to really think about it. So that's kind of where we are with that. And I think there's opportunities in schools and school boards, and I think they have an opportunity to rebuild where NSBA itself has been failing. That's my spiel.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Anything else? Meeting adjourned.
All right.